You have to spend money to make money, but you need to have money to spend money. So if you're starting out with only spare change as your seed money, do not give in to hopelessness. Today, I'm gonna show you exactly how to start selling products on eBay and Amazon without saying goodbye to a single dime. Today, I'm gonna show you how I got started on my journey from being $24,000 in debt to becoming a multi-millionaire.
We weren't really living, we were surviving.
Because Seth would work so much, we couldn't hang out with him as much as we are able to do now.
It was challenging, it was hard, but now I have multiple passive income machines that make me money while I am sleeping. These are the 3 exact steps that brought me to where I am today. First, I sold everything I didn't need. A lot of what I accumulated over the years were wants, not needs. I thought, do I really need this metal stool? I mean, it was nice to have, but did I need it? No, so I sold it. I found stuff in my home I didn't need, and instead I turned it into cash. For example, I had a suit for just in case, but how often would I really need a suit? I didn't have the money to go to formal restaurants, snap my fingers and go, excuse me, garçon, I would like another plate of caviar. So instead of something useful, the suit was like a $100 bill just sitting in the closet. Then it clicked in my brain. My stuff wasn't just stuff, it was assets. I had these assets all over the house that weren't doing anything for me, so I made them work for me. Now I could turn that stuff into money that could help me make more money in the future. We asked the KNIEP family and a friend who knew me very well, what was it like to go from $24,000 in debt to having millions of dollars?
My mom, she would focus on hunting coupons like all the time. She would look at cereal boxes and try to get the best deals at different grocery stores and clothing stores in order to save as much money as possible.
Being in debt, I remember going to the grocery store and pulling out my debit card, trying to buy groceries, and my debit card wouldn't work. And just the devastation of that there's no money in the account and I can't get groceries. There were a couple Christmases where we couldn't get gifts for our kids. It was hard.
I know the KNIEPs were in debt, and I know it affected them greatly. They had an old Honda van, and it had a horrible oil leak, and of course it's going to be really expensive, and I would try to help them because I knew, with all the kids and the finances, and Seth was doing everything he could. He worked crazy hours.
If you don't have cash and need cash, do what I did. By the way, at the same time, I started another project where I started asking total strangers to double my dime.
All right, guys, so we are going out and we're going to start an experiment. We're going to see what we can do with a single dime by investing it.
So I remember the day that Seth said he was going to double his dime. And he literally took a dime and he went downtown and he started talking to business owners and asked them, hey, this is what I'm doing. I want to double my dime so I can get to X amount of dollars so I can sell online. And as an introvert, that freaking scared me half to death. Like, I can't imagine doing that. Just walking up to strangers and be like, hey, you want to double my dime? And then he got to a few $100s, and then he used that chunk of money to buy products to start selling. And it goes to show you, like, you can literally do anything.
When Seth was doubling his dime, I was the one that was behind the camera filming on like an iPod and then eventually like an old iPhone. I felt like it was like a really cool adventure and interesting thing that he was going out just asking people to double his dime. There was another person, a store owner of a restaurant called Frank's Hot Dogs. The Frank was spelled P-F-R-A-N-K. The owner actually started running his own company recently, so he kind of related to Seth in that way, because Seth was, on the path of figuring out what he needs to do and work for himself. So they kind of related that way, which I thought was really cool.
He didn't see it as a crazy idea. He saw it as a journey not only to make money, but to interact with people, engage, and have this experience. This experience is going to be him and I growing together.
Instead of thinking of your assets as these static things, make them work for you. Go into your living room, your bedroom, your front porch, pick up a random object and say, okay, how much is it selling for on Amazon or eBay? And if you don't have any money and don't know how to get started, start selling things you have, because you need cash in order to generate cash.
Selling our stuff, I became a lot less sentimental because I had to let go of a lot of things in my life, a lot of actual things.
I knew one guy who had over 100 DVDs just sitting around his house. He just started to sell on Amazon. And I said, look, do you realize how much money you could turn those into if you sold them? You can use that money to purchase other things and eventually create passive income when you set up businesses that are working for you instead of you working for them. So we went on eBay and we searched for one of the movies, A Walk to Remember. 12 units had sold the previous week for $5 each. Now I know that doesn't sound like much, but if you had over 100 DVDs and you can make $5 each minus a couple bucks for shipping, that's $300. They're not being watched. Why not turn that into cash?
I would say more than money, it was mindset.
I cleaned, I dusted, I repaired everything I wanted to sell so they could command even more value. Nobody wants to buy a creaky bike with spider eggs under the seat. But with a dust rag and a little WD-40, you can sell a dream to someone who needs exactly that item. If you have items that aren't ready to go without buying something else, like a lamp that needs a replacement cord, then price them accordingly. Now, don't forget to make buyers aware of the product's flaws before they buy. Not only is it the right thing to do, but it's going to build trust and prepares you to over-deliver for your online customers in the future. And don't be scared to display items that might be stained or cracked. I mean, local theaters and artists, they're hunting for deals like these specifically because their work needs to be on a budget. Maybe your wacky burger tie isn't going to see another boardroom, but it just might make a comeback in a high school play. I advertised all of the stuff online. The online market space is like, no kidding, hundreds of times larger than it was back when I did this in 2014. Your opportunity today is so much bigger than mine was. You had eBay, Amazon, and Craigslist. But today, you also have Facebook Marketplace, Nextdoor, OfferUp, LetGo, and a ton more. Make sure the listings you create include daylight pictures, multiple angles, size comparison shots. Photos are the #1 part of an online listing that sells the product. I mean, it's amazing if you think about the things we learned just from selling stuff we had or buying and reselling from yard sales. How we learned to sell the stuff online prepared us for building an Amazon store for the future. Also, include things like model numbers, dimensions, and other relevant details when you create that listing. You have so much more reach today than the old school yard sale. Now, speaking of yard sales, we hosted yard sales with everything that didn't sell online.
Garage sales were so fun. They were exhausting, but they were fun. It was a whole family event. All the kids were involved. I just remember making money, making good memories, and selling crap. It was amazing. It totally impacted our marriage and it helped us to be more in sync, and the health of our marriage grew from that point on.
If you hold a yard sale, putting a sign on your yard the day of the sale is not gonna cut it. I mean, just the other day, I walked out of my house, our neighbors have a yard sale, there's not even a sign, there's just stuff. You wanna take the time to make it nice, to present it well, and to advertise it well. Make sure you're putting clear, easy to read signs at intersections, community hubs, bulletin boards with your dates, times, and address front and center. Yellow is the best color with black ink on top. So like a big yellow board or a yellow poster, and you write it with a black felt pen.
The earlier you put up signs on a Saturday, the more people you would get coming to your garage sale. And so we had to wake up really early, and I'm never a morning person, so that was really difficult for me. We would write down the directions on him, drive through the neighborhood, and that would take like an hour to 2 hours. Usually we did it in the summer. I don't know why we did garage sales in the summer when it was like the most hot, because we live in Austin. The family would take turns managing the cash register to make sure like no one steals money, and that way the rest of the family can like cool off, and then we would switch. And so that was difficult, but when I think back on it and in those moments, I also appreciate the hard work that I learned to do throughout that garage sale and the selling process.
Make sure your signs go up at least 24 hours in advance, but no more than a week. That way people have time to prepare, but not so much time that your sign fades into the background or their everyday lives get really caught up before the big day. Make the yard sale as nice as an experience as possible. For example, set up an extension cord so customers can test electronics. Pull down a shower curtain and full-length mirror for clothes. Now, if it's a hot day, why not put out a pitcher of lemonade? Make it a great experience for them. The better experience for them, the more stuff they're going to buy. Now, you don't need to invest in a card reader, but with the rise of Venmo, PayPal, and Facebook Pay, you don't have to be limited by customers who aren't carrying cash. And let people know ahead of time that they have different options. Just make sure you have this set up in advance so that your sale goes smoothly. One thing we would do is set out a nice blanket right there in the driveway and put smaller items like teddy bears on that. Then using a shower curtain to hang clothing and organize it by men's, women's, children's, teenagers. Then tables for more physical hard stuff or higher value pieces so that if you drive by, you can't help but notice something significant is going on here.
Well, at the time that we were selling stuff in our house, I was little, so I would kind of join along and sell like my stuffed animals and stuff and make a profit. So in that sense, I got a young taste for selling products and doing sales and making money.
For anything that didn't sell, I would go door to door and sell it to my neighbors. Sometimes it was people who didn't know me. I'd knock, hey, you don't know me, but would you like to buy this? We just had a yard sale. We thought you'd appreciate this. We're doing this at a huge discount. It was a little uncomfortable, but it needed to be done. The experience actually helped me to become a better salesperson, which also helped my future business on Amazon.
I always felt like sad for him whenever someone would say no, but he would keep going. He wouldn't stop. He didn't give up, which was really cool.
So Seth is very much about solving problems, overcoming. He is not a quitter. He's relentless. I mean, he just pounds away like nobody I've ever seen, okay?
This is the kind of hustle, the kind of mindset you need to have if you're gonna build a business on Amazon. The most precious moments for me was when I got to bring my youngest daughter with me when she was doing a fundraiser for her school. So we would do a double deal. We would go together, I would sell my stuff, she would do her fundraiser, and together we were able to succeed at our goals.
So he was selling these watches with like a Minecraft character face on it. I specifically remember that. So when I would go to sell my stuff for school to raise money, he would come with me and sell these Minecraft watches. So if they don't like this, they can buy this. Win-win.
We put together a 6-step PDF graphic that will walk you through 6 things you can do to build cash fast. Just go to jod.com/fast or click the link below. Second thing we did, I took the cash that I earned from selling my stuff to sell products via arbitrage. Arbitrage is where you buy products on the cheap and sell them somewhere else like Amazon or eBay at a higher price.
He found a niche on eBay, that's where he started, that no one else was selling, and then he just got in there and started fulfilling them himself.
Seth didn't let things get to him. He just always found a way to adapt to how can I take things that aren't important, resell them to get the capital so I could invest and start my future.
So if you notice a product is selling for $5 on Walmart.com, but $20 on eBay, you can pocket the difference after paying the eBay fees.
I know Seth doesn't do things by the seat of his pants. If the numbers aren't there, he's not going to do it. I mean, I know that. If that takes another month of looking for that product or that niche, he's going to do it.
Let me give you an example. Here's some eBay sales screenshots from back then for this Sperry women's Songfish boat shoe. Shoes like this sell so well. If you find them for a lower price and can resell them, I'm talking brand item stuff on eBay or Amazon, you can make really good money. Then use that money to buy more products via arbitrage. Use the money you get from one product to sell 2. Use that money to buy 4, and your cash continues to grow and grow as you reinvest and you build that out.
You don't have any excuses to not start selling online. You can start with nothing and double that and keep growing it over time.
We were able to pay off our house, which was unbelievable to me. We had never been able to do that before. And so that was incredible. And still, like, I remember us paying off our house and being like, this is real. When we started to travel and meet people and see this amazing world, that's when I really started to feel the impact of, wow, we are doing this.
When I actually felt, wow, we actually have way more money than we had before, was probably when we went to Sweden in 2019.
Once you have that cash, you can start making what are called private label purchases. In other words, you start building a brand of your own products, and instead of selling a bunch of one-offs, you start selling 2,000 of these or 3,000 of these, which requires less work, and you start making money more passively. And then you no longer have to hustle all the time to make money. You actually start making money while you sleep.
He had mentioned something about a coffee mug to me one time. He had made a coffee mug, and it was a little, as you hear him talking in his videos about differentiating your product, he had a little minor differentiation, and you know, he's making good money at it. Was that one of his big sellers? Well, not in terms of what he does today, but at that point in time, yeah, he was making good money off it, and he was turning around taking that money and reinvesting and working and doing things.
And that brings me to my third point. Third, I took the cash from selling Arbitrage and used that to sell my own branded products with higher perceived value than my competitors. Now, shoppers do not look for products to buy. They're actually buying a solution to a problem. I didn't buy this because I wanted the cup, but the experience the cup creates. There are 2 kinds of problems you can solve. Number 1, a real problem, which is about the function of a product, the physical features of it. And number 2, a perceived problem, which is about the look of a product. In fact, if you don't have enough to differentiate in a real value, then start with perceived value, a better listing, better photos, better retail packaging, better design, some low-cost ways to stand out from the competition. Let's take a baseball hat, for instance. It solves the problem of the sun torching my skin, because I'm a very fair-skinned guy. It keeps me cool and shades my sensitive eyes to sunlight. It solves a real material problem. But there's also an aesthetic reason to buy this hat. It looks cool. It solves a perceived problem, how it makes me, the customer, feel. The design doesn't make it any more functional, but it raises the perceived value. Baseball hats are pretty much all the same when it comes to solving a real problem, but this one does the same job of keeping me cool as any other baseball hat. So why did I buy this one instead of a completely different one? Because I like the style, the design. It solves a perceived problem by looking awesome. Why did I buy it? I made an emotional decision. It's not based on practicality. I already had another baseball hat at home that does the exact same thing of protecting my eyes and my face from the sun's harsh rays, especially here in Austin, Texas. Now someone's gonna ask, well, Seth, why solve a perceived problem instead of a real problem, huh? Because it's a lower cost kind of problem to solve. Suppliers already make baseball hats by the tens of thousands. They've perfected the art of it. If I ask, hey supplier, could you stitch this cool design on the front? They're gonna say, sure, pay us $3 a hat. And then I go and sell them for $30 each. But if I'm gonna solve a real problem and make an improved hat or a novel product that solves the same problem the hat solves, then we're getting into designing sourcing materials, asking the supplier to produce a completely new product, and that's where the cost goes up, but potentially I can charge more as well. Yes, you can do this. In fact, if you have the capital and the knowledge, 100% solve a real problem. It'll make it harder for other sellers to copy your product when selling it on eBay or Amazon or Walmart.com. But when you're low in cash, first start with the perceived problem. Let me give you an example. Our first Amazon store were the very first sellers to come out with this product right here. It was called the Cash Cannon. Today they call it the Rainmaker because there was some big issue with the trademark that we were not involved with from other sellers who started selling after we were. Now, does this actually solve a real problem or does it solve a perceived problem? I'll let you decide.
The cash cannon product was pretty fun. I remember Seth just like at home, just like testing it out, and it sold super well. And I remember boxing those up. We got the kids involved and shipping them off to Amazon. And I remember when Seth went sourcing in China, he ended up finding a factory that sold these cash cannons. And he was like, what? I could be making so much better profit margins if I bought from this factory. So
I don't know why Seth has such a fascination for like random crazy products. It was interesting to me because he wasn't selling things that he was into. The reason he found those products is because he found a niche that had very low number of competitors but huge potential.
You shouldn't sell products you like, you should sell products that you know will do good on the market.
If I'm trying to increase the value of the entertainment at a party that I'm hosting, then something like this is absolutely going to increase the value of the party. But look at the gold design. Look at the really nice box. Does this box actually help with the entertainment? It doesn't. But because it's beautiful and nice looking, it raises the perceived value. And that's where you can actually hit both sides. Let me give you another example. The very first product that we made a lot of money on Amazon was a cremation urn. I'm talking little tiny urn. It's a necklace. It goes around your neck. This is an infinity urn.
He was scrolling on Amazon and he was thinking, what is the most weird category that no one would want to sell in? And he stumbles upon, oh, death and funeral. No one wants to sell there.
So I actually thought it was a fascinating product. I had never seen anything like that before. A little necklace that had a tiny little urn on it, really unique and different. And in fact, I ended up keeping one, which I used later because my dog died 3 years ago. And then I ended up saving a little piece of his fur and stuck it in one of those cremation urns. So it actually came in handy.
So the infinity urn has the infinity symbol right here, because the idea is that it continues to go. It never stops as it goes in the Infinite 8 design. What we did is to add value to differentiate ourselves from other competitors is we started including little funnels, little tiny funnels where you could take these to take the ashes and pour it into the urn because it's a little tiny cap. So now instead of just selling an urn, we're selling a kit, which is the experience. Once you find the right market niche, use product research tools like Niche Hunter. Go to DHgate or Alibaba and find products that have at least 40% profit margin minimum. Then reinvest your profits to buy more inventory, and eventually you're using those profits to launch another product. Before you know it, you have this entire machine making money for you.
I learned it's not like one big event or big decision that can turn you into a millionaire like a lot of gurus try to sell you on. It's a lot of consistent small decisions over a long period of time that lead to true success.
It was an amazing journey to see him go from not having money to fix an oil leak on his car to selling everything he owns to creating these businesses that eventually became Just One Dime.
And as you continue to double and double and double, like I did my dime, before you know it, you build a business that makes you what is called passive income.
He was already selling online and reselling products, doing arbitrage, and he had multiple online businesses at the time. That, out of more than anything else, gave him more freedom and time that he could spend with us, and just like he could create his own schedule. Like he didn't have to work overtime in order to make more money. He was able to like work really hard some days, and other days he only worked like a couple hours, and that was like a sign to me that he really had true freedom.
Now, building your business is not passive at all, but you get to a point where your listings take on a life of their own and they start selling for you, and that money gives you the freedom to do the things you love with the people you love.
There was kind of like this burden lifted off of our family. Like, I feel like people started to become less stressed and it was lighter.
Amazon FBA allowed him to have the time and freedom to do what he loves.
If you would like our team to work with you, to help you with this, to really build a sustainable, profitable business on Amazon, go here, jod.com/freedom, jod.com/freedom. Once you fill out the application, it will give you the opportunity to meet with one of our team members who will meet with you either over video or on the phone and talk about your long-term goals and help you create a plan for success.
The Done For You program, the reason why I chose to do it, not do one of his coaching classes and learn how to do it myself, is I believe in order to be successful, you find a way to emulate other people's success. If you and I are going to climb Mount Everest, you don't sit there and draw up plans on how you're going to do it. You find out how the last 200 people did it that did it successfully and survived.
It's motivated me to work more on my game, because I program, I create games, and I feel like it's motivated everyone to do their own thing and be like passionate about it and not just work the typical 9-to-5 job and not do what you want to do.
What most people don't realize is when you see successful people, all you see is their success. It's kind of like an iceberg. People just see the top of the iceberg, but underneath the iceberg is a huge, like a ton of work and time spent.
I tend to be a pessimistic person, at least I used to be, and I really feel like I've had a transformation. And I feel like Seth becoming an entrepreneur has really influenced me to see the glass half full and to work hard for your family and to really just do the things that you're passionate about.
He's nowhere near the finish line at all. He's just getting started.
If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, like and subscribe below, and I would love to know, what are you doing today to move from here to growing your cash so you have freedom? What is your step? What are you working on? We would love to know. Have an awesome day.